What's up, guys? So I'm going to be doing a review up until chapter 390, 339 of Hunter x Hunter. And what a chapter series this has been. So first and final spoiler alert warning. And so we will leave off from where we left off last video, which was around, I would say, chapter 300-ish, something like that. And so I will be reviewing pretty much the last 40 or so chapters. Just a quick summation again. The series it's on a huge hiatus, so uh, there's only one more chapter after this, and then it's very sad, but that's it. And again, first and final spoiler alert warning. And I'm going to do a little bit of a Toriko spoiler alert warning. So I hope you guys don't mind a little bit of spoiling for Toriko. Otherwise, click away. So to begin, um, judging from the latest chapter I just read, the biggest thing is it likens in much similarity to Toriko. We know that Toriko comes afterwards, and so I think I did a whole video about Toriko and Hunter x Hunter similarities, and I've seen a couple more, not a lot, but this is like the biggest one. Do I feel like Toriko is at the very least influenced, or at least uh, maybe the creator has read Hunter x Hunter? Yes. For me, I'm almost definitely sure. There's a lot of sort of um, small things that you just can't really detect unless you have read both manga, and I've listed a few in my other video, but now with the whole thing about the world that they know of in Hunter x Hunter to be the human world, and then for like the unknown world to be so much larger and comprising of the majority of the planet, it's just so much likened to the gourmet world and the human world in Toriko. And I believe statistically even the size differences are similar. I believe it was mentioned in Toriko that like the gourmet world comprised of about 80% of the entire planet, whereas the human world was like 20 to 10%. And yeah, it's the same concept. Gourmet world, unknown area outside. Um, Hunter x Hunter, same thing, unknown dark area outside. And obviously there's clear differences between them, but I feel like if someone wanted to copy, they could easily just copy the mainframe and then just change like the little details to make it to cover it up. And I'm not saying Toriko copied, but um, I do think that there was a little bit of influence, to say the least, at the very least. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's a very cool concept. Why not take it and use it? If they both came up with it on their own, great. But the difference would be that in Hunter x Hunter, the outside world, the reason why they haven't the human world, or the human five continents has chosen by treaty not to venture outside is because of history. Apparently, throughout their past history, what's happened is that each time they tried, disaster struck. So that's very vague, but I'm assuming it's implied that maybe some of the mythical creatures mentioned were drawn into the human world and maybe caused disasters because people ventured out. Whereas with Toriko, it's slightly different. The gourmet world is obviously huge, and basically the reason why people don't venture out is because they can't. You would just to like breathe the air there and survive or just stand there, you are required to have like tremendous fighting capabilities, like power levels similar to maybe capture levels of 100 or higher, just to survive in that area. just like the border, I'm assuming you might need higher capture levels, maybe 200 or 300 to actually venture into the real gourmet world. And the reason why the gourmet world creatures have not gone to human world is because compared to the gourmet world's food, the human world's food is complete crap apparently, which I'm very shocked at because that Toriko universe's human world food is so much better than the freaking food in real life here. Anyhow, aside from the fact that I'm a little pissed about that, um, yeah, if you don't read Toriko, I highly suggest it. But down to the important stuff, and this is what I really want to talk about. Again, it was very heart touching. I believe chapter 339 was the one where there's not a single real word of dialogue. I mean, you saw like people talking, but you didn't actually see words. It was simply like symbols and stuff in the few cases where there was dialogue. And the whole chapter was pretty much like a summation. It was pretty much the conclusion. You see Killua finally being able to see the swans that was promised of him, and then pretty much everything's coming to a conclusion. Leorio, you see Leorio again. Kurapika's nowhere in sight. Leorio, Killua, all watching through their computers to see the swan thing in the sunset. It's very beautiful, and at the same time, a lot of other things are going on. Pretty much just like it's like a very peaceful like ending chapter, sort of like Bleach-esque, very Bleach-like, and it's just no dialogue, and which is very very different. Like this very rarely happens in Hunter x Hunter, so maybe he was in fact influenced by Bleach, maybe not, but it's definitely a new sort of thing, and it's obviously not going to happen a lot. But you see just panels of things coming to an end. You see the two pro hunters who went with Netero to capture the Chimera ants. They're pretty much finishing up the bet. So remember, they had a bet where like they were betting on which of their students would return on the set dates, and the one person who won, he pretty much bought wine that cost the whole bettings and more, and the wine was pretty much 1,100,000 whatever the currency is that they use, which is ridiculous. It's a huge amount, and it's pretty much both of the stakes they put up combined. And then you see again more touching stuff. They pretty much use this wine, and they drink it in front of a picture of Netero, who's obviously died, just thanking him for stuff. I really wish Netero would have somehow survived, but obviously he doesn't. Now, finally, we get to another, scenic scene. We see Goto, apparently, but then he morphs into that creature, those shape-shifting creatures. And so, a lot of people are saying, they're probably saying, oh, Goto's still alive then. He survived Hisoka's attack, blah, blah, blah. But I immediately went to the Wikia page. Based on the info there, it seems Goto is dead. What happened was, at least from the Wikia, Goto is dead. Basically, the shape-shifting dude morphed into Goto in order to deceive Killua, so Killua wouldn't find out that Goto had died. And it's sad, but there you go. I really wished Goto didn't die, but he did. And Hisoka obviously didn't. I personally think he didn't have to actually kill anyone. He could have just disabled them. But again, I guess it's a new side of Hisoka I never really bothered to acknowledge. Either that, or I never really bothered to actually really accept it, which was that Hisoka is in fact partially evil. I mean, sure, he helps the good guy side, and I say good guy side with quotations because, I mean, Kurapika gone and the crew, I mean, sure they're good, but I mean, are they really that good? Anyhow, Hisoka, sure, he helps the good guy side sometimes, but sometimes he helps the bad guy side. And as of now, after watching Hisoka pretty much slaughter all these people, including Goto, which I always thought was a very cool guy. I thought he was a main supporting character who would not just be erased so quickly. And to see him just easily beat this high power level butler and slit his throat, along with so many other pro hunters, I've learned a lot that okay, Hisoka is really really powerful. He's very very strong. And at the same time, Hisoka is literally like he's very fickle. He will kill and do whatever he wants, and he really doesn't have a side. He's not morally bound to. He doesn't consider himself a good guy or a bad guy. He's simply trying. His only goal is simply to kill or play with the people he finds strongest or capable of fighting him on a close to equal level. And it seems like throughout the series, he's literally gone undefeated or won all his fights against most opponents. I don't think he's actually lost. And people might bring up the scene where he had to pair up with Gon and Killua to take out that one guy who was playing dodgeball with them in the Greed Island arc. And they would say, oh, there's a scene where Hisoka is not that strong. He had to rely on two other people to help him, and they barely beat this guy. But in that same scene, it was mentioned that this guy was only strong in his battlefield, which was this sort of playground of dodgeballs. And so I think it was mentioned by Hisoka that if he was taken out of that battlefield, 1v1, in terms of fighting capabilities, he would be no match for Hisoka. And so I really think Hisoka is very strong, based on again apparently the whole arc after the Chimera Ant arc is called the 13th Chairman Election arc or something like that. In that arc, it seems like Hisoka is simply trying to chase his goal again, which is pretty much to kill all people he finds strong. So he's like debating in his head, should I kill Killua? Should I kill Aluka? Should I kill Illumuni? Why? Because then the rest of them would get mad at me and fight me, then I could kill them. And here's the thing, after the Chimera Ant arc, I don't think Hisoka's that strong, okay? Sure, he's very very strong in a lot of ways, but in a lot of fights he did take a good deal of damage. I mean, his last one of his second to last fight at the the battle tower thing, he took a decent amount of damage, which he covered up with his texture skin or whatever. But he took so much damage that he needed a fellow Phantom Troop member who specialized in healing to heal him. And then we see the dodgeball thing. He got his whole arm, or he got a lot of his fingers gravely injured. And so compared to the Ant King, who I'm pretty sure would never take damage in either of these scenarios, based on the incredible stuff that he's done. I mean, a lot of people might forget what's happened in that arc when they compare the two, but just as a refresher, I mean, the king took on Netero's best attack ever, and he came out of it scratched, of course, but he lost no appendages, he took no damage, and there's no holes or anything in his body. Sure, the Rose explosion did gravely injure him, but before that, I mean, this was Netero's strongest attack. I believe it was called this might be completely wrong, and I think it is, but Chachikin Zero or something like that. And so ridiculous amounts of fighting capabilities. I don't even know what to say. I got to relieve some of this stress here. Um, Ridiculous. And so Hisoka's strongest person ever doubted. Based on the election arc, he seemed to have sized up a few of the Zodiac members as well as Illumini. And apparently he put Illumini at 95 points and Zodiac members around there too. I believe the Tiger one got 92 points. And so that means the Zodiac members are pretty much almost up to par with Illumini, which means, I mean, Illumini, he's on like, he's probably one of the strongest in the human world. Why? Because he took out all 5 of the leaders of the human world, well, not the leaders of the human world government, but the human world underground, the 5 leaders of each of the 5 nations. And so these people are like the highest prestige, which would garner them having the highest level of bodyguards. And so he assassinated all of them with his needles. So I'm assuming he's like at the top. And so the Zodiacs are right there with him. And judging from his interactions during this small arc, Hisoka seems to be sort of, I wouldn't say scared, but he doesn't want to get on Illumini's wrong side. And judging from how he behaves and stuff, and how he's like trying to form a partnership with Illumini, I think that he's a little scared that he might not win against this guy. So that would put Hisoka at roughly the same power level, maybe slightly higher. And my reasoning is that if Hisoka really wanted to, he would have killed Illumini by now if he thought he could beat him, and he has not. Maybe he has other goals, who knows. However, there's still Chrollo out there. But again, after the whole Ant arc, I really think that the strongest person so far, by far, is the Ant King, after he had absorbed the majority of 2 of his royal guards. And that was crazy, that was ridiculous. His power level then was probably double what it was when he was fighting Netero. So at that level, with such a massive N, I really think that Hisoka, despite him being very strong, could not handle it. And I really think it's a shame Hisoka and the characters did not participate in this sort of ant fight. I mean, sure, we did get a few Phantom Troop members fighting one of the troop leaders and pretty much easily dominating. And it just shows that the Phantom Troop members themselves they're up to par with the Zodiac members, and it just seems like they're so strong. I mean, when they were fighting this troop leader, they weren't even really, I mean, they weren't trying that hard. Like, if it was that big a struggle, they would have all grouped up and attacked, but it was one after the other. Like, they're waiting for this one person to finish off the queen before they went up and fought. And so I really like the Chimera Ant arc. The election arc was obviously very, very short, and I wouldn't call it a full arc. The Ant arc was a full arc. I would liken it to be like a sort of follow-up short mini arc that sort of complemented and sort of leaned on and required the arc before it was which was the Ant arc. Why? Because there's a lot of sort of moments that reference back to the Ant arc, a lot of flashbacks, and a lot of the arc was simply I mean, there's like whole chapters on Chimera Ants just giving flashbacks and talking about their lives in the arc after the Phantom Troop, I mean the Ant arc. And so I would liken that to a sort of culmination and conclusion to the whole thing. And I really like the ending, which was 339, where you get like it goes back, like this is clearly the end of the election arc, where the election chairman has been chosen, and Jin, I mean, by the way, I talked about this so much in my last video, but I didn't really like Jin and Gon meeting up so quickly. If you want to know why, look at my last video. But As far as as far as the end of this arc, the reason why I thought of it as sort of like it's still attached to the Chimera Ant arc was because of, once it ended, we have that chapter 339, which was sort of like a silent chapter, sort of like the intro to Wally, which was completely silent, void of dialogue. And the very last panel flips straight back to the Ant arc, and you see it's like the last 2 pages was pretty much a zooming in of the palace, the whole battleground of the Ant arc, and then it zooms down into the underground to a specific room where you simply see a zoomed in picture of 2 dead hands, and they're like holding each other. One's like a charred hand, the other's like a sort of like a insect hand, and obviously it's the king and Komugi. And so it's very, very sad, very touching, and a lot of conclusions being made. And finally, the last thing was, so the hospital slash election arc ended, and then we see like Killua saying, "Don't tell Gon," and it seems to be a very sort of dark, tragic ending. And all of a sudden, in like the next chapter, it's almost like the creator decided to change his mind and go a different direction, because now all of a sudden Gon and Killua are back together, and they're with Aluka, and they're pretty much talking, and then Killua pretty much spills all the beans and says, don't worry about it, don't worry about it. And then they go on their way, and everything's fine and dandy. But before, the chapter before, it was like very, well, it wasn't the exact chapter before. I believe there was like a few chapters in between, but the point was, there was a moment where Killua was like, now that I've fulfilled the wish, don't tell Gon. And it seems very dark, and it seems very sad, and it's like Killua has to leave because he has to fulfill his promise to Biscuit of leaving Gon, because he wasn't able to beat Knuckle and Knuckle's companion. And so it seemed like a very dark thing where Killua sacrificed all this stuff and went against his family, and now Gon will never even know how much Killua went through to heal him, and how grave of a condition Gon was in, and you then, like, Killua was going to disappear forever. And then it seems like the creator changed his mind, and they're all happy-go-lucky, and Killua spills his beans, and everything's good, which I think it's a little bit of a cop-out, but I mean, it's his manga, he can do whatever he wants, and in a way, sometimes people like happy endings, so I am kind of fine with that. And it seems all is good, but again, another thing was with Nenenka, which was Aluka's other side, and at first it seemed like Killua made a commandment for Nenenka to never come out, and based on the rules, Nenenka could therefore had to obey and fulfill that wish, and therefore he would never be able to come out. And yet, however, when we go on to the next sort of page, or next few pages, it seems like Killua breaks down, says sorry, and asks Aluka to bring out Nenenka again. And then for the next few chapters, it seems like Aluka is able to bring out Nenenka whenever she wants. So it's really not like a failsafe. It's not like if they catch Aluka, she can never bring her out even if she wanted to. And so they're not actually as safe as it seems like. So if Illumini either somehow manages to capture them both, which I think it's likely. I mean, Killua is not that strong compared to Illumini as of now. I might be saying his name wrong. Excuse me sorry if I am. But yeah, if that is the case, then he could just control Killua with the needles, and then force Nenenka to come out, and maybe somehow figure out the rules and develop infinite wishes, or really dark wishes. I don't know. I don't know what his intentions are. But again, I'm very excited about the whole thing. I think it's very similar to Toriko's whole thing, with them branching out of the human world and finding out what's in the gourmet or outside world and seeing what's going on. and for them to just experience new things in the outside world, where obviously the power levels and ability of beasts are much higher, and we're going to see Jing and them develop and go out there on their own. So thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, favorite, and subscribe. And most importantly, if you guys have actually watched all 26 minutes of this, and you have, leave a comment telling me you have, just as sort of proof, and that'd be very great, because it's very great for you to do such a thing, because it shows that you respect me a lot, you respect my whole content. And quite honestly, if you leave your comments below, it'll be very appreciative, because I know the great majority of people will click away after 1 minute of this video, based on the retention analytics from YouTube. And so that's just, I would just be very, very happy if I saw anyone who actually did that. I'd be very thankful, and it'd be great. So leave a comment, and I'll see you guys later as always. See ya.